This presentation, called ClubStore Issue, was given at the 30th Annual Convention of the Pepperidge Farm Owners Association of America, April 27th and 28th, 2018, held at the Orleans Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Let's get started. What is a club store? Okay, do you have your answer? Well, let's take a look. Well, we find out looking at our contracts that early contracts don't even define the term. There is a mention of club under paragraph 9, but the context is totally different to what we refer to as a club store today. Paragraph 9 lists a whole bunch of prohibitive sales, and in that it says, and hotels, restaurants, clubs, and similar organizations. So this is going to mean any type of social club such as the Elks or the Moose or whatever social club may be out there. But recently, Pepperidge Farm has defined what the club store meaning is in the buyback program as well as newer contracts. Let's take a look. The new Schedule A actually defines what a club store is. Let's read it. For the purpose of this distribution agreement, the term club stores shall mean that class or type of retail store that is commonly, though not necessarily, dedicated to large sizes and bulk sales, who may be required to pay a membership fee to shop therein. For example, Costco, Sam's Club, BJ's, etc. Here is a new Schedule A. There's a lot of ambiguity and disclaimers. Let's take a look at a couple of them here. Here we see the words, though not necessarily. So as we read this, a retail store that is commonly, though not necessarily, dedicated to large sizes and bulk sales. So that means they may have large sizes and bulk sales, they may not have large sizes and bulk sales. The second disclaimer is the word maybe. Usually when we think of a club store, we think of a store that is going to require a membership fee. Well, here there may be a membership fee, there may not be a membership fee. Another change is the fact that Pepperidge Farm is calling club stores a retail stores. In the past, Pepperidge Farm has always referred to club stores as a hybrid account. Why the change? How long have club stores existed? Think you have your answer? Well, let me ask you another question. How many can you name? All right, let's move on here and reveal some answers. As we can see, Gemco was way back in 1959, long time ago. As a matter of fact, we see a whole bunch of club stores other than Gemco, Whole Club, Pace, Price, Price Savers, Super Saver, Wholesale Club. And then we move on to the next page, Source Club, American Wholesale Club, Buyers, Fedco, Gem, Max Club. So as we can see that club stores have been around a long time and there's been quite a few of them. But the modern era of club stores really started in the mid-80s. The largest one is Costco. They have 749 worldwide stores, 519 in the US alone. Their membership is 85 million back in 2016. In 2017, they added another 5 million to be over 90 million. Membership starts at $60. Sam's Club, 597 locations. Membership there starts at $45, and of course Sam's Club is owned by Walmart. BJ's, which has 200 locations. BJ's is a little bit different because they do allow non-members to purchase for an additional fee. Usually that fee ranges from 5 to 15%. Their membership starts at $55. Originally, distributors had club store rights going back as far as 1958. How do you think we know this? Well, let's take a look at our files. We see that this, which was from Kessel, Young, and Logan that did the research back in 1987, this letter from 1958, which goes ahead and states, in order to clarify Article 9 in the Pepperidge Farm franchise with regard to written consent from the bakery and for distributors to sell clubs, hotels, restaurants, and similar, please be advised that authorization is granted. This is kind of interesting that they want us to keep this in our binder and marked under franchise. Very important to save everything from Pepperidge Farm and to make sure that this is in a safe place as well. Here is another letter from 1985 that talks about membership stores. There was a lot of confusion. Pepperidge Farm was claiming that membership stores were wholesale stores and therefore the company had the ability to service them. Distributors believed that club stores and membership stores were retail accounts and therefore the distributors. Well, in this letter, Pepperidge Farm does concede the fact that stores such as club stores, here it says Cub stores, I believe that's just a typo, which are open to the general public are clearly retail stores and part of the distributorship. Well, let's continue. Back in the mid-80s, around 1985-86, Pepperidge Farm started to offer snack owners approximately 5% commission. Pepperidge Farm wanted to keep up the direct shipping, and at the time, we were not independent distributor IDs or SDAs. We were known as distributor customers. When distributor customers refused Pepperidge Farm's offer of 5% commission, Pepperidge Farm raised it to 10. And if I am correct, I believe eventually they raised it to 15, but still distributor customers were not on board with the program. Pepperidge Farm at the same time tried to paint on how hard it was to deliver to club stores. For example, club stores expected everything to be shrink wrapped. They wanted dock height trucks, and most importantly, they wanted it on pallets. All of which we found was pretty simple to do. Most of them really don't care if you have a dock height truck. They do want it on pallets, and they wanted it using shrink wrap. Very easy to do. This eventually formed the Pepperidge Farm Owners Association, which was nothing more than a consolidation of other organizations that were out there at the time. They all believed that club stores were retail stores and part of the contract. So after they amalgamated, they went ahead and did their best to secure the rights of club stores. They held their first meeting in Las Vegas in 1988. After the threat of litigation, distributors were able to service club stores. Now, do you remember the slide just a few slides back that showed that the Owners Association did go out and they hired legal counsel to represent them? Pepperidge Farm knew that the distributors were serious and were prepared to litigate. So they came up with the agreement that distributors could service club stores, but there was going to be a few certain rules to follow. First, with BJ's, the stores would order the product directly from Pepperidge Farm. Pepperidge Farm would then send the distributor customer the product as well as a special purchase order. Then the distributor would arrange time to deliver the product. Product would have to be delivered, of course, and palletized. The interesting thing about BJ's compared to today, today most distributors who have BJ's get weekly deliveries. Back in the 80s and 90s, deliveries would probably be more monthly or even quarterly. But when they ordered a lot, several pallets. As a matter of fact, with the BJ's that we owned, it would usually be a full truck, and we have a 16-foot step van. Sometimes we even had to use two 16-foot step vans to deliver the product. At that time as well, we would have to pick up damages and stale product. I do recall a thrift invoice from one of the 2 truck deliveries that equated to about $2,000. Shortly after that, I was put on probation for being over my thrift allowance. But anyways, one thing to keep in mind is this is before Project Symphony. Now, many of you are probably not familiar with Project Symphony. You are just familiar with the new billing system. Back before Project Symphony, the distributor customer would actually purchase the product from Pepperidge Farm. So whatever we ordered had to be settled with Pepperidge Farm at the end of the week. So when we think about servicing BJ's, if Pepperidge Farm was sending out a $5,000 order, which was a lot of money back in 1985 and even so today, you had to make sure that that product was delivered to BJ's that week, or you would be billed for that product. It was not on consignment like today. Sam's Club. Sam's Club was pretty much strictly 38-ounce goldfish, even though I do believe that Pepperidge Farm also had a special Milano package for Sam's Club. Sam's was a little bit different. They wanted a certain amount on hand at all times. As long as you kept that amount on hand, everyone was happy. One of the issues that we had with Sam's Club, though, just like Walmart today, is we find that their computer system is not always accurate. So what do you do when Sam's is saying they only have 30 cases on hand? Pepperidge Farm is not happy because they only have 30 cases on hand, but you go to the store and you see 50 cases on hand. Sound familiar? Anyways, the product was ordered and delivered anytime during receiving hours without an appointment like BJ's. Costco was very similar to Sam's. They always wanted to have a minimum amount on hand. Product was ordered and delivered just like Sam's by the distributors without appointments. Direct shipping. Early in 2000, Pepperidge Farm started to direct ship pallets to the stores and charging distributors a pallet fee. This was rolled out over a period of time with one chain, and then a few months later the next, and a few months later the next. This is almost similar to what happened back in 2008 with the Convenient Availability Program. One day, 7-Eleven says, "Hey, Pepperidge Farm, we want you in all our stores and we will only take it via warehouse." And then a short time later, you would get another letter from Mobile, the same thing. Then Speedway, the same thing. And Walgreens and Rite Aid. And next thing you know, within probably about a year and a half, there were over 20 accounts that Pepperidge Farm stated that they all wanted service and that they would only accept it via warehouse. Is that a coincidence? Well, going back to the club stores, Pepperidge Farm claimed that the accounts were not satisfied with the DSD process. Yet at the same time, they still took other items DSD. And as I mentioned before in the last slide, distributors would have to pay for the product. So if you're going to pay for the product, you are going to make sure that that product is delivered as soon as possible. Well, Pepperidge Farm realized that the pallet fee was not part of the contract, and soon they wanted distributors to sign off on an addendum that would authorize Pepperidge Farm to do this. Back in 2001, Vice President of Sales, Mike Salzberg, sent this out. He claims that there was a rumor that was being circulated. And of course, this is in response to a Pepperidge Farm Owners Association newsletter. And let me just read this real quick. "We have heard that a rumor is being circulated to the effect that Pepperidge Farm has changed your consignment agreement to delete your rights with respect to membership club. That rumor is untrue. Pepperidge Farm has made no such change to your consignment." Mike Salzberg says that club stores are a hybrid account that sell products both at retail and at wholesale, and that these accounts have been serviced by SDAs for more than a decade. When some of these accounts refuse to accept DSD from the SDAs, Pepperidge Farm developed the pallet delivery program to enable you to continue to benefit from sales to these accounts. Well, let's move on and take a look at the actual pallet fee program. Now, with this program, at this time, it says, until further notice, the amount of that deduction shall not exceed $30. Well, here is part of the problem that distributors had. The fact that there was no cap. It could be $30 today, and as we already know, it's $35. Well, who's to say that it can't go up to $40, $50, $100? Why not $200? Whoever signed this was really leaving themselves open to the point where Pepperidge Farm could charge such an enormous pallet fee that there would be no commission. And by the way, after checking with several shipping companies, we determined that the $30 pallet fee was excessive. So now the pallet fee is part of the agreement and is a separate addendum letter to the contract. More recent, Pepperidge Farm has been purchasing club stores from seller territories for several years, unless the club store was needed to make the route viable. In December 2017, Pepperidge Farm started contacting distributors on a quote-unquote business opportunity to sell club stores and future rights to club stores back to the company. Pepperidge Farm also wanted a general release sign that would protect them from all actions prior to the signing, known or unknown. Pepperidge Farm offered to pay up to an additional 13 weeks of commission if this was signed. The first wave in December primarily focused on distributors with the Blue 2001 contract or newer. Pepperidge Farm has reinterpreted for the first time a clause in Section 20 that reads, "Bakery shall have the right in its discretion to purchase all or any portion of the distributorship at any time upon written notice to the consignee." The POAA has no record of Pepperidge Farm using this clause to extract any account in the past. The interpretation of this clause was to force a route split. As it first originated in the 2001 contract, at that time, Pepperidge Farm believed that routes should be doing approximately $7,500 a week. And if they were doing over $10,000 a week, the mindset was that money was being left on the table and there needed to be a mechanism to force a route split. Pepperidge Farm has no right to take future stores if not agreed to in writing by both parties. How do we know this? Again, let's look at the contract. Paragraph 28 of the contract states this: "This agreement may not be amended orally or by custom or conduct, but only by a written signed by both bakery and consignee." So unless somebody is willing to sign, Pepperidge Farm has no right to future club stores. Our belief that Pepperidge Farm is counting on the following. 1. The average distributor isn't going to seek legal counsel. How do we know this? In March 2018, the association sent out a club store survey. Question 7 asks this: do you have legal counsel? Now, the respondents who answered were those who were asked to sell the club stores back to Pepperidge Farm. As you can see from this graph, only about 18% of the distributors who were contacted sought legal counsel. The average distributor isn't going to understand the consequence of the general release. While the general release is not hard to understand, One thing is you need to read it carefully. You have to realize you are forgiving Pepperidge Farm for anything that has happened in the past. The average distributor will be more than happy to sell off future rights and any litigation rights for just a few $1,000s. Think about what is happening out with the California lawsuit. People who signed the new agreement will no longer be able to participate in that suit. And this was only for a few $1,000s in payment. The average distributor does not have the funds to litigate the new interpretation of paragraph 21. The association believes that a case can be made to stop the reinterpretation, but unfortunately, this is going to cost a lot of money to litigate, and the average distributor just does not have that. The average distributor does not have the funds to arbitrate. Let's go over arbitration real quick. Paragraph 20 of the Blue 2001 and paragraph 21 in older versions says this: 25% of such fair market value to be determined either by agreement between bakery and consignee, or they shall be unable to agree by 3 arbiters, one of whom shall be chosen by bakery, one by consignee, and third by the 2 first chosen. Each party to such arbitration shall pay all legal fees and expenses incurred by it in connection with such arbitration, including without limitation the fees and expenses of the arbitrator chosen by it, and the fees and expenses of the third arbitrator shall be shared equally by consignee and bakery. The determination of the fair market value by a majority of the 3 arbitrators shall be final and binding upon both bakery and consignee for the purpose of this paragraph. So let's break this down real quick. Paragraph 20 of the Blue 2001 and paragraph 21 in older versions states this: 25% of fair market value. We're going to focus in on fair market value and agreement real quick because these are 2 important terms. What is fair market value? Well, let's go back to the contract definitions. We find that fair market value isn't defined. When this happens, most times, courts will go to an authority such as Black's Law Dictionary or West Encyclopedia of American Law. Black's Law Dictionary says fair market value is the price a buyer will pay. All parties are willing and aware of the property and its value. While West Encyclopedia states the amount for which real property or personal property would be sold in a voluntary transaction between a buyer and a seller, neither of whom is under any obligation to buy or sell. Does this reflect what is currently happening with Pepperidge Farm? If you could sell your ClubStore, would you sell it to the same price that Pepperidge Farm is going to be purchasing it? And a forced purchase at that. This transaction, we believe, is not voluntary, mainly for the fact most distributors who we spoke to want to keep their ClubStores. Let's talk about the 3 arbiters. As I already stated, your side gets to choose 1 arbitrator, Pepperidge Farm gets to choose 1 arbitrator, and then the third one, the first 2 people would choose. In terms of payment responsibility, you would be responsible for your lawyer, your arbiter, then half the price of the third arbiter, and then you and Pepperidge Farm would split the court fee. The nice thing about arbitration is that it is only a 1-day ordeal. Cases are usually presented in the morning, and then a decision is made within a few hours. The determination of fair market value by a majority of the 3 arbitrators shall be final and binding upon both bakery and consignee for the purpose of this paragraph. For more information, you can visit our website, teampoaa.org, or visit our YouTube channel at youtube.com. There we have set up several playlists, one that deals with arbitration and another one with the legal system. Question: how much revenue per hour do your traditional accounts generate? Do you think you have an answer on that? How about your club stores? Any idea how much revenue they generate? Let's take a look here. Now, this distributor went ahead for 5 weeks and ran a test where he calculated how much each account would generate for him. And in this, we see that his grocery stores were averaging $104 in revenue per hour, while club stores were approximately 10 times more at $1,000 an hour. Still think the value is fair? Well, let's break this down even more on how to prove fair market value. We call this a store profitability analysis. This is going to involve tracking several things. The first item is store sales. Secondly, the time spent in an account. And from that, we can come up with a profitability and we can compare to ClubStore profitability. And then most importantly, letting your lawyer present the case. One lawyer consulted stated that this would be more useful than having an outside expert, which we will go over in a few minutes. He said, any lawyer worth a grain of salt would be able to make this case. Now let's take a look at the actual spreadsheet. As you can see, we have all of the accounts listed, and this is for dates 3/12 through 3/17. Here on a daily basis, the distributor will go ahead and put in all of the sales figures. From there, the spreadsheet will calculate the commission. The distributor would input how much time was spent at each account. For this case, the distributor would go ahead and start the clock when he pulled into the account and ended it when he left. He also used Google Maps to do tracking as well for verification. From these numbers, we can come up with a revenue per hour generated. And as you can see, most grocery stores varied from $39 up to $146 per hour worth of revenue. Then we can turn around and we can compare that to club stores. Now for this distributor, he would only spend 15 minutes a week inside his club stores to verify what was shipped in that given week and to check with management to see if there was any issues. And then on this page here, we see a total of 5 weeks worth of data. Again, as we can see, each store is different. Even within grocery stores, some are more profitable than others on a per hour basis. Same thing with the club stores. So over 5 weeks, brought in $1,200 for an hour and 15 minutes worth of work. And that is where we come up with our numbers. So how to prove fair market value? The second way would be to use an outside expert, someone who is an economist or specializes in business evaluation. What are the pros? Well, first of all, you are going to get somebody who is objective, someone who is nonpartisan, and someone who is credible in their field. How about the con? Well, for the association, we are not sure how many independent distributors are going to arbitration. From what we could tell, most people are either settling or they are currently just waiting. And then the cost. The cost involved would probably be between $15,000 to $20,000 to have an outside expert write a research paper on the subject. And my guess as well, the research expert is going to have to use data that we already just went over. Well, what other considerations are there? We already mentioned that the cost to arbitrate is probably going to cost between $10,000 to $25,000. Where did we get these numbers from? Well, these numbers are from distributors who actually checked with their legal counsel. We had one that was on the low end at around $5,000, which we just don't believe that is a realistic number. Pepperidge Farm may not pay until the negotiation is complete. While for distributors who have their routes paid off, this isn't much of an issue. But what happens if you still have a loan payment? You still need to make that loan even though Pepperidge Farm has extracted and not paid you for that account. Everything is negotiable. In general, what we have found out is Pepperidge Farm will increase the payment offer once an attorney is involved. Even if attorney is not involved, if you push back, Pepperidge Farm will increase the offer. Another thing is future club stores. Distributors who are signing away their future club stores' rights currently are not receiving anything additional for them, because they are selling that as part of the package. What about the general release? Do you need to sign that? And the 13-week add-on, is that really necessary? Again, you can find more information at our website. But let's talk about negotiations. Negotiation is less expensive than arbitration. Even if you use legal counsel, you should be able to negotiate this for just a few $1,000s. Or you can try to do it alone, but is this something that you would want to do without an attorney? As already mentioned, we have found that the ratios go up when a lawyer is involved. Usually once that lawyer is involved, the amount that the ratio goes up is more than enough to pay for the lawyer. Everything is negotiable. The price is negotiable. The general release. We have spoken with distributors who did not sign the general release. It is negotiable. Well, what happens when you don't sign the general release? Well, Pepperidge Farm will take away the add-on. That is a cost-benefit analysis that each distributor is going to have to figure out. Future club stores. If you have a large geographic territory, what are the chances that a future club store is going to open up? Currently, when people are selling their future club store rights, that number is not in the calculation. You are just signing over any future rights for $0. Well, as our little monkey friend says here, questions are guaranteed in life, answers aren't. At this time, we would love to hear from you. Because this is a video presentation, feel free to check out this video on YouTube or visit us at teampoaa.org. Thank you for your time.